You can't keep track of this guy and what he says, and I'll tell you this though, I'm not backing down. I mean, we need to follow the law. We wanted to say that we have their backs. His response to kill them, and he's trying to get some fear out there, and fear can be contagious. But what also can be contagious is courage and patriotism.
Kelly's recent conduct has been so outrageous that even Stephen A. Smith had to call him out for it. Watch.
How dare you do that? I'm not a military person, and I know better than that. You don't tell military men and women to ignore an order from the commander-in-chief. You don't do that. Is it going to amount to what Trump tried to embellish and indicate? No. But that don't make you right. How dare you do that? He's the commander-in-chief for the United States military. Period. You have no business doing that. None.
Good for him. And here with the reaction is Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator, what do you think of what Stephen A. Smith had to say?
Well, Stephen A. Smith is pretty much on point. What we know is this: the seditious six cannot give you an example of anything they think is an illegal order. But you know, Jason, I think what we have to look at is that the Democrats are now the party of lawlessness and obstruction. You go back to 2020 and you look at how they started defund the police, and then it was cheering for illegal entry at the border and then allowing illegal aliens to vote in our elections. And now they're challenging the authority of ICE. You look at their challenge to the National Guard, and we have one dead guardsman, another fighting for their life, and they're challenging President Trump and our military. I think Secretary Hegseth has this right. It is stage 4 Trump derangement syndrome, and I think he is also right in asking the Navy to review the comments of Senator Kelly.
You know, every time I turn around, I hear these senators and Democrats in general just doing everything they can to make life easier and smoothed out for the perpetrators or would-be perpetrators, as opposed to looking out for law-abiding citizens. And it gets disgusting to a point. And you're talking about people who are in the receiving end of a lot of criminality, and yet they go to the ends of the earth to protect those who would or want to commit other crimes, but then to try to disrupt the chain of command, that goes a step I didn't think we'd see in this country.
Well, you're right about that. And as I said, their lawlessness and obstruction. That is what they're doing. And it's so interesting when you hear them talk about undermining democracy. They're the ones that are undermining democracy by carrying out the activities that I've just talked about. Look at how they fought the big, beautiful bill. Look at how they brought about a government shutdown because they wanted to make certain that those illegally in the country could get health care. So for 43 days, they had the government shut down. Anything they can do to undermine President Trump, anything they can do to undermine the U.S. military, which is the most trusted organization and institution in our country, they're going to do it. And it is completely inappropriate. I've got to tell you, I was so pleased to be at Fort Campbell with Vice President Vance on Wednesday, and to see those men and women in uniform welcome him, to cheer him, and to hear him thank them for all of their good work. That is what we need more of. We do not need the seditious six out there undermining the U.S. military.
One of the best, Senator Blackburn from Tennessee. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Here now with reaction, and former Trump campaign deputy communications director Caroline Sunshine and the host of the new podcast, the new one, Just Kara Davis. Surprise, it's Kara Davis. So let's start with Caroline. Give us your read on the latest of the land. Caroline, how do you read this situation?
Jason, the auto pen, presidency, I just want to say first and foremost, the auto pen presidency, we don't call it the Biden presidency anymore, we call it the auto pen presidency, is part of what set up the collateral damage that President Trump is now having to fix. I mean, you had for 4 years, they lied to the American people, and the White House press corps was complicit in it every single day, a fact that they should absolutely be reminded of. Meanwhile, you have people like Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly reminds me of John McCain. That's not a compliment. He gives off the same loser energy. You can tell they're both frustrated that they're never going to be president because they're not tough enough, they're not smart enough. And Mark Kelly cannot name a single illegal order. Meanwhile, I could name several illegal orders that were given during the Biden administration that Mark Kelly was completely silent on. Let's start with the fact that members of our military were told they had to mandatory take the COVID-19 vaccine or they were going to be discharged from the U.S. military without pay and without pension. Where was Mark Kelly then? Where was Mark Kelly when it was so abundantly clear to anybody with eyeballs that Joe Biden, the commander-in-chief of the military, was not fit to give a single legal command? You really want to tell me the generals and the military aides around Joe Biden didn't think that he was fit to give legal orders? The man didn't know if he was in the bathroom or the Situation Room most of the time. I mean, Jason, I was at the Air Force Academy graduation where President Biden fell on stage face first in front of 4,000 of our newly commissioned officers. Where was Mark Kelly telling all of those young officers then on their first day of being commissioned, hey, speak up for what you're seeing? Mark Kelly knows exactly what he is doing. He is undermining the rule of law. Members of Congress, their job is to declare war and approve military budgets, not to undermine the chain of command. And I think Mark Kelly is about to FAFO.
Kara, let's go back to the auto pen, because President Trump took a bold position saying, hey, they're not going to recognize as a law or executive orders what was signed under the auto pen. Do you think that's the right move or not the right move?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the right move. I don't think we should forget about this. We had a president who was completely absent for 4 years. And I know it's tempting. I know the Democrats would like us to move forward. They're always telling us, we gotta look ahead, we gotta look towards the future. But we cannot let this go. Because if we let this go, it's just gonna happen again. So President Trump absolutely does need to prosecute this, not just because we need to know what happened during the Biden administration, but we also need to know the depths of rot in the Democrat Party and the depths of rot in the Biden administration through those last 4 years. This is not just about repairing the wrongs of the last 4 years. This is about righting the wrongs of America. We have 1 year and then maybe another 2 after that to right this ship, to turn everything around. This is going to be a holistic approach. It's top to bottom. You got to take care of everything. The border, healthcare, affordability. But yeah, we even got to prosecute the auto pen because we had a ghost in charge of America for 4 years. CNN has called this, Jason, they have described this as Trump's long-running attack on the auto pen. I beg to differ. It was a long-running attack on the American people, and it's time for justice.
Amen to that. Thank you both for joining us tonight. All right, coming up, President Trump's Caribbean crackdown continues. The president now hinting at a possible land operation against Venezuela's narco terrorists. The details straight ahead. Stay with us.
Here's an amazing fact. 70 million Americans lie awake every